Good morning, this is Lainey from Camp Joy Farms. I'm out here today in my lower garden and I wanted to talk to you about germination. It's a word I use a lot, I feel like, in my videos. It might sound kind of repetitive. Anytime I'm planting anything, I'm talking about seeds, I'm always mentioning germination. And that is very important. It's the amount of your plants that actually come up versus the amount of seeds you put in the ground. So I wanted to come out here today and talk to you about a row that I'm having to come back and reseed some of. And that's an aggravation. You don't want to have to do that, because I had told you on a couple of videos ago that my intention for this row was to not succession plant, that I had some offers of help to help me come harvest. And so I wanted to just plant the whole 95-foot row with momentum beans. I didn't want to come back and plant a few feet here, a few feet there over weeks and weeks and weeks. I wanted to be able to have just a bumper harvest that would be over in about a week. And that was my plan. However, germination. The seeds came up spotty. In some parts of the row they came up okay, but in other parts of the row they didn't come up at all, and it's very spotty. Let me show you a visual of what this is looking like to me when I walk out here. Here is a visual of row 2 in my lower garden. This right here is row 2, and that's my Cherokee wax beans. Now I planted those all at once, and you can see just by the leaves and everything, there's no big mist spots, that I had really good germination on the Cherokee wax beans. I planted them once. They should all hopefully keep growing and bear at once. And over the course of about a week, at the most 2 weeks, but probably about a week and a half, I'll be picking most of those Cherokee wax beans. I can choose to leave them in the ground and see if they develop more blooms and do another production later, and I might do that. But for that first bumper crop, they should be coming in all at once, and that's what I want. You can see on this row right here, this row, that is my zipper cream peas, which of course are going to have a whole bunch of black-eyed peas coming up right after them, because I accidentally planted them both on the same row. But for right now, this is the zipper cream peas coming up. And just a glance down that row shows you that I had great germination from those zipper cream pea seeds. Very happy about that. Now the row in question is this row right here. All of this green stuff right here is my dwarf SX rape, which is my ground cover I planted in the fall, and I'm just kind of letting it be. But in between, there's plenty of dirt where my seeds can come up. However, I barely had any momentum beans come up at this end of the row. You can see there's none. As I walk down the row, there's a few that have popped up, but you see the gaps of space in between them? And it's the same as I go down the row, and then it gets really bad right here. Just absolutely nothing for, I don't know how many feet. Every now and then one might pop up, but that's about it. Now, things don't all germinate at the same time. They don't all come out of the ground at the same time. You can see all of the mist spots here. All of the mist spots. But these have been in the ground over 2 weeks. I have planted other things and had them come up great in the meantime while I'm waiting on these momentum beans. Just tons of space. I'm very, very disappointed in these beans. Lots of missed space. That in the middle is the rape. Look at all this. Just missed spaces. A few little plants here, a few little plants there. Now, it gets better for some reason on this end. My garden does have a slight slope to it, and there's more water that runs down to this end than the other end. So that's the only explanation I can have, that all of a sudden it kind of picks up. There's still mist spots. You can see right there. Another big mist spot. And it's still very spotty. The leaves are not crowded in any way on each other. They're not crowded in any way. That's a good little stretch here with a few. But then it goes back to being very, very spotty. Nothing much. Toward the end, a little bit better, but nothing great. And as I turn back around and look at this row, you can see the difference in the Cherokee wax next door. I don't know if it's really easy to see, but you can see the zipper cream peas pretty much green all the way down this row. You can see it with the naked eye better than my camera. This row I'm not too happy with. I decided to come into my shed tonight to finish this video. The rain was coming today. The clouds were rolling in while I was out there talking to you about the germination of my momentum beans. And I wanted to go ahead and get the rest of them planted before the rain came. And also I went to my other garden across the beach, Richard's garden, and planted some Ford Hook lima beans that I wanted to get in the ground. Those are really big beans, and I didn't soak them, so I wanted to get them in the ground before this rain came. And we've had an evening of just slow, steady, drippy, soaky rain, and that is the best kind for the garden, and I'm so excited because while we have had a few storm systems come in lately, we haven't gotten, that kind of rain. We've gotten really fast rain, thunderstorms, tons of wind, and not really the slow, steady rain that the gardens really love. I'm looking forward to going out there tomorrow and just seeing how the gardens are doing after this rain. I think we're gonna have some more rain tomorrow. They were talking about tornado weather tomorrow. I'm scared to death of tornadoes, but for some reason I haven't paid any attention this week to the weather. So I don't know if that's still in our forecast or not. I'm gonna have to check that tonight. But talking about the germination, I got to thinking about it. Why did they do so good last year, and then this year I'm having trouble? And I realized last year I planted them in my upper garden. My upper garden was brand new last year. Our friend came over. This was after my husband had a stroke. His friend came over, and while he was here one afternoon, just disked up my garden for me, made some rows, just did it really quick. And I planted some seeds out there. I figured if they grew, fine. If they don't, fine. I really didn't have time to do a whole lot to the garden. And those momentum beans did great. They came up, great germination. They grew well. They put off a beautiful bean that kind of reminded me of a Blue Lake pole bean or Blue Lake bean. And I was so happy with them. So that's why when I was going through my list this year and trying to choose, what do I want a whole row of? Which bean will be a good candidate to plant 190 row feet of beans. And I picked the momentum bean because of how good they did in my upper garden last year. But they don't seem to like the lower garden like they like the upper garden. They may come around, and I did get them reseeded today, so this second round may come up, and in the end, I may have a bumper crop. I'm not writing them off or anything, but my plan was to have this long row, harvest it once, get them within a week or so processed and in my freezers. And now I'm gonna have some just trickling in weeks later, and I really didn't want that, but you have a plan, and sometimes, I've done videos about it, sometimes your plans do not go how you planned. All you can do is the best you can do. All you can do is just plant it and see what happens, and then you have to pivot, adjust, and just do the best you can, and that's what I'm trying to do. What caused me to think about this today, though, was while I was down in my garden, I walked around and was looking at everything, and I just noticed that my candy corn was coming up really, really good. I planted 4 40-foot rows of candy corn, and it came up and is doing great. I'm so excited. It's just about 100% germination. It's about 5 inches tall now, some of them give or take. They all kind of come up on different days, so they're never the exact same. And it's kind of come up healthy. It looks great. I'm so excited. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, this is great. This is going to do good down here in this garden. Well, going across the beach to Richard's garden, I had planted 8 30-foot rows, 240 feet of Mosby Prolific corn, which is an heirloom white corn that last year did fantastic for me. I was so happy with the Mosby Prolific that I gave it more space than anything else this year and planted it over in Richard's garden because that's where I had the most space. Well, guess what? It's coming up kind of spotty, and it's not coming up nearly like the candy corn is coming up, and it's not coming up nearly like it did last year, the Mosby Prolific. And I'm kind of a little bit worried. I'm thinking I'm gonna give it a few more days because I planted it after the candy corn, maybe even a week later. And there are some of them that are just barely coming out of the ground right now. So I know there's more action going on under the ground than what I realized. But last year it just came up. It was standing tall and proud within just a few days. And this year it's coming up here and there and spotty and some empty spots. And so it just has me worried a little bit that I'm going to have to go back and put some more seeds in the ground and hope they come up. And then I'll have corn at all different stages, which is not what I wanted for that either. So I started thinking about it. Well, why is the Mosby Prolifics the same seeds I had last year? Why all of a sudden is it not performing as good? And I realized that last year I had planted it in the lower garden. The lower garden seems to be where my corn is happiest. 2 years ago in 2020, I planted Silver Queen corn down there, and it did great. Last year I planted Silver Queen corn in Richard's garden across the beach, and it had terrible germination, and I had to replant twice. Same thing with Stoll's Evergreen. I had never planted it before, but I planted it last year in Richard's garden, and the same with the Silver Queen. I had to go back and reseed twice to get a full stand of corn. Now here's my Mosby Prolific kind of acting like that. And I think this is just the simple solution that Laney's come up with is the corn doesn't like that garden. And if the corn doesn't like that garden, I don't think I'm planting it there anymore. I think the corn likes the lower garden. There's a lot more organic matter down in the lower garden because that garden has been in existence for 2 years, fall and spring. I've chopped and dropped a lot of plants down there. I've just worked in that garden more. It's got more root systems that have dug in and hopefully pulling nutrients up from lower in the soil. And I think they just like the lower garden better. So I think next year I need to make myself some notes. I say I'm gonna do that. I hardly ever do that. I should do that. I know a lot of people do that. But if you only really understood how busy my days already are, journaling and making notes, I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'm doing the best I can sometimes just to stay afloat. So I don't know that journaling's gonna happen, but hopefully mentally I'll just remember next year I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let the corn go in that garden, and I'm gonna put my corn focus on my lower garden. I think that'll be the best thing to do. I'll tell you what did grow good last year in Richard's garden across the beach is cowpeas, my purple hull peas, black-eyed peas. I planted pinto beans over there last year. I planted San Maria Pinquinto beans, which is a small little reddish pink bean that a lot of people like to use in Mexican cooking. And they did good. I let them go at some point. I just ran out of energy and time to harvest them like I should have, and I feel bad about that. But I was just overwhelmed last spring, so I didn't get them harvested like I should have. But I will grow those again. But they loved it over there. They did great. I grew Lena Cisco's bird egg beans over there. Anything that I could grow that would turn into a cowpea or that was a dried bean did great over there. Love that garden. Came up, germinated, and thrived. So I'm gonna focus my energy on that in those gardens over there. Maybe pole beans that are like Alabama black-eyed pea beans, things like that love to turn into a dried bean, and I think that would be the best thing to do over there. For my lower garden, tomatoes like it down there, my tomatoes, my corn, and I'm gonna focus my energy that direction. My upper garden may just turn into a glorified green bean factory. That may be where the green beans are just happiest. Right now I've got Ideal Market and Blue Lake pole beans, and both of them seem extremely happy in this upper garden. So that's what I may do. You just have to shift. I'm learning. This is only my 3rd year in gardening, and here I am, worried about selling already, which is putting a lot of stress on me. I'm gonna try to just relax I'm going to try to just think things through as best I can, make adjustments as best I can, forgive myself if I mess up because I'm just doing the best I can. But I think it'll all work out right, especially next year if I really make these adjustments. So I think that's the root of my germination issues. Is I also need to decide where plants are happiest and plant them there. This was just a little talk tonight about germination and about just kind of finding where your plants are happy in your garden. Sounds easy, it's really not. You almost have to just waste a growing season to learn where they might be happy, test them again somewhere else next year. I'm gonna learn that. I'm gonna put my corn in the lower garden from now on. I'm just not gonna waste my time putting it in Richard's garden. Same thing with the green beans and all. I think they might just hit this upper garden and not go anywhere else, you know. But never say never. When it comes to space and it comes to just plugging something in here and there, you're always gonna make changes. This is Lainey from Camp Joy Farms. I hope your garden's going good. I hope your plants are thriving. I hope that, well, if you've been able to plant, I'm in South Louisiana, we have been able to plant. But if you haven't, good luck. I wish you the best of luck with everything. And I wish everyone just fantastic gardening this year. Thank you so much. And y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.